traveling on the road this week against a really good quality opponent in Old Dominion. Be their first home conference game, so I know they're fired up about it. You know, this Old Dominion team, I think, is a really good ball club, to be honest with you. They've lost 3 games to really good quality opponents: Virginia Tech, Virginia, East Carolina. In all 3 games, they had opportunities to go win the game. I feel like they're a team that, you know, was basically like us last week against UAB. They'll have something at home to prove. They'll have a chip on their shoulder. They'll be fired up, and we got to go match that intensity. So, with that being said, any questions?
Have you noticed anything with Old Dominion in those close games that's not really allowed them to get that? I mean, I know they played some tough teams.
Yeah, I think it's more they just played some tough teams. I think they're playing really good defense. They're the second best defense in the conference, right behind UAB. I think they do a great job defensively, so it's going to be a really big challenge for our offense. They do a great job in run defense. You know, everybody's had a hard time running the football against them. They load the box, and they do a really great job of not giving up the big play. Everybody's tried to take a shot against them, and because they load the box, and they've been able to keep people from making the big play. So on the flip side, offensively, I think they're doing all the right things. They got really good players. They're just playing some really good football teams. And, you know, they've had opportunities to win the game, and it hasn't worked out for them. And so I think they'll be ready to go with it being the first conference game. So we better have an edge about us to go get a good win.
Well, UAB was also one of those teams stopping the run was their thing, and you know that was evident Saturday where they really. I mean, you see sort of similarities in approach for this game, and then maybe what you did with UAB.
You know, we're still early in the game planning process. We'll always just try to give our kids the best opportunities to be successful, try to put our linemen on proper angles, all those kinds of things. I feel like the UAB defense and this defense are very similar in the sense that they control the line of scrimmage. There's not a lot of space there to run the ball. But, you know, we'll force the issue. If you're going to move the ball down the field, you got to be able to stick the football up in there and be able to rush the football. So we'll have a good game plan for that. But the name of the game will obviously, which again, is make the explosive play and find the end zone. And if we can do that, we'll come away with a win.
I'm assuming you saw the way the game against ODU ended last year. Was that one of the more bizarre endings you've seen?
Yeah, it was definitely a tough one. You know, I felt for the previous staff, to be quite honest with you. It's sometimes as coaches, you try to do everything you can. You try to check every box, dot every I, cross every T, go over every scenario. And it just happens to be one of those fluke things that happens from time to time. So, you know, we'll again address it, talk about it. We walk through all those different scenarios, and but that's the beauty of football. You just never know what's going to happen, and that's what makes it such a great sport. So we'll review the tape just to kind of see matchups and those kind of things from last year. But really, it's a clean slate. It's a new teams on both ends, and it should be a very challenging game for both teams.
What did you see from your offense once you evaluated the film? Any different looks than what you offered?
I was really disappointed, like I talked on Saturday night, about situational football for our offense. I knew UAB was going to be a tough opponent defensively for our offense to go up against. But, you know, we move the ball down there. We score a touchdown on a 3rd and 3, easy touchdown. We get illegal hands to the face, and the touchdown's called back. You know, that's the second time this year that's happened. And then later in the game, we get another. We're up 20-13. We got a great drive. We hit JP on a screen. He runs down there, huge explosive play. Come back with a quarterback draw, run the ball down to the 5. We get a holding call, and it's a draw play. You know, you can really let the D lineman rush up the field. You don't even have to block them. So those are the things that I'm disappointed in. Now, is our kids battling? Are they fighting? Are they all in? Are they doing all they can do? There's no question about that. But if you're going to be really good offensively, you gotta understand situational football, and that's the disappointing thing for us offensively right now. I do think from our standpoint. We're growing as an offense. I did like how Ty Story played and managed the game for the most part, other than the one sack that he took. That took us out of field goal range. But we're getting better. We're growing. But I'm always going to be critical of us, as the media should be, in my opinion, as well. I think right now our offense is riding the coattails of our defense, to be quite honest with you. And, and I think they know that. I think they're battling, they're fighting, and I think we got a lot of room for growth offensively, and I think their turn will come. I really do. It's a long season, and I think at some point in time we'll be counting on the offense to go get it done, and I think they will go get it done.
You mentioned that sack where he didn't throw it away. What was Ty's response when you addressed that with him? It's one of those things where it seems like that's the obvious choice, but then why it doesn't happen?
Like most quarterbacks, he was trying to make a play, and made a poor decision. But if you look at his full body of work in the game, he had a winning effort, in my opinion, for the game. That was just one play. But what was disappointing was it's a close game, and we're down there and we have points, and now all of a sudden you're looking at a 10-point game instead of a 7-point game, which really puts them out of range. And so those are the things, like when you're on the road against an Old Dominion, you can't do. And that's what we got to do better offensively.
Tyson, Kyle Bailey made that transition to linebacker this offseason and had 2 interceptions on Saturday, of course, but he looked like he was really getting after the ball in general. Was that probably his best game you've seen from him at this position? Yeah,
as far as making plays, when we needed to make plays, yeah. I think Kyle's growing into the position. He still has a lot to learn. I think he needs to get better in the run game part of it, and a lot of that's just having the reps and being out there playing. It's very hard. You got a lot of misdirection, a lot of different things going at you and things you got to think about. So he's still growing in that aspect. But what he brings to the game, which you saw out there on the field, is when he's out there in space, he's got good ball skills, he's pretty quick, he can cover a lot of ground, and he gave their quarterback problems in that area. So that's what I really like, is his versatility to do a lot of different things.
Do you foresee asking Ty to do a lot of running moving forward? I know that you said UAB was kind of game plan, you need him as an extra body. You sort of see him asking him to do that more instead of maybe other running backs out there, or bringing in packages that bring other running options? Or
each game's different. I think Ty is a quarterback you can't run, and I wouldn't want to run him as much as we did in the UAB game. I just felt like in the UAB we really needed to. We needed to get the extra hat. But every game's different. But I do like that we have the flexibility to run Ty when we need to run him.
As far as playing other quarterbacks as well, you talked about that we might see all three, and we only saw obviously Ty Story. So where do you place kind of Keevaris and David Shanley at this point?
I think you've got to just play it by ear and how the game's going. I thought with Ty, things were going good enough for him to stay in there, maintain his rhythm, and I think we made the right choice in doing that. And I love KT. I love Shanley. I do think they're just as good. I do think they can go out there and win games. I would love to get them out there. I will continue to try to do that. But as the flow of the game goes, we just got to play it by ear. If we would have gone out there and things weren't clicking, and we weren't really doing anything at all, then I would say, hey, let's change it up a little bit. Let's look at a KT. Let's look at Shanley. But I just felt like at the point in time in the game, we weren't doing great, but we were moving the ball. We were doing some things. We were giving ourselves chances to try to go win a game, and I didn't want to mess that up.
I know you mentioned the big plays on offense, but what are you looking at specifically now, trying to get them going heading into this ODU game?
Really, again, every game's different. What's the matchups against ODU? Where's their weaknesses? Who's the worst coverage guy? Who's our best deep ball threat? Who's our best space player? The things that enter your mind as a coach is, all right, how do I get the ball out on the edge? Is it a jet sweep? Is it a reverse? And when I take shots, who are the matchups that I'm trying to create those matchups with? So every game's different in that regard. We tried to take a couple in this game, and, it didn't work out for us. I did think one thing we did well is we got in some empty sets and we threw some screens and some different things that was able to get like JP out there in space, and he makes a big play. So we got to, continue to do those things. And I felt like offensively, the only disappointing thing that through the first 4 games, we very easily, every game could have came with 30-plus points in every game, which is what I'm used to. So that's a big goal for our offense right now, is to let's go play a complete game where every time we have an opportunity to get the dang ball in the end zone, let's get it in there. And Corey Munson, our field goal kicker, is doing a great job. That's a huge part of the game as well, especially on the road. We'll need him to probably make 2 to 3 critical kicks in this game as well.
How do you address that with the team when it's not a scheme issue, it's just an execution or penalties at the wrong time? Not that there's a right time, but down there late. How do you address that to the team to get them fixing that?
I rip them pretty hard and make them feel really bad about what they did, to be quite honest with you. I was very hard on the offensive line, but offensive linemen are built that way. The offensive linemen are not built to be nice to. You don't love up on offensive linemen. They know one thing and one thing only, and that's grind all the time. So they'll embrace that. I thought our tight ends, they're a part of that as well. Our tight ends bring a lot to us in the passing game, but we got to play better in the run game with our tight ends. We'll see. I like the look in their eye when I get after them. I do like that. They respond the right way. So, but I like our football team. A lot of times to the media, I'm going to be critical and I'm going to say a lot of things, but our kids have the right demeanor. They battle, they fight, they get it. And it is a total team effort. And the one thing I do like about our offense, when we do need to go make plays, go score, go find points, they do it, And the strength of our football team is our defense. There's no question about it. I think we're playing very solid special teams. The biggest thing is your punt game and your kick coverage game. We haven't done much in punt return, and I'm okay with that. We need to get the ball back. Don't turn it over. We need to get good field position and kick return. I felt like for the most part we've done that. So I feel like our team understands it's a total team deal. I think our team knows what our deficiencies are, and I think they work extremely hard to get better at that. But I am going to constantly remind them about what our deficiencies are and make them respond in the right manner.
Tyson, after the game, you said you can't let your team get too big-headed, especially after a big win against UAB. How do you, as a coaching staff, kind of keep them focused and not overlook a team like ODU?
Basically, like what I just said, I think you're constantly coaching your players hard. There's 2 things that I think a football player needs. He needs to know that he's loved and that he's taken care of. And if a football player knows he's loved and taken care of, he'll run through a brick wall for you. And so, with that being said, you coach your players hard. You keep sharpening the knife, and you make them have an edge. And that's what we're going to have to do this week. If we're going to go get a win at Old Dominion, we're going to have to show up at the park mad and angry and have our knife sharp and ready to go to work. And I don't think we're a good enough football team right now. When I was here in 2015 and we went to Old Dominion, we were kind of like the UAB team that showed up here. They felt good about themselves, as they should be. They felt like, hey, let's go get a win, as they should be. But they met a WKU team that was mad and ready to play and had something to prove. We're about to see that out of Old Dominion, and we got to match that intensity. And that's the type of football our team needs to play. They need to have something to prove every week, have an edge about them, and feel like, hey, we're trying to go show the world, we're trying to go do something here. I hope one day we can feel like what we felt before, where, hey, we can show up at the park and we're about to go wear somebody out. That's not the approach we need to take right now.
Tyson, today, California passed a bill that would allow NCAA students to make money off their likeness endorsements starting in 2023.
I do. I think it's going to change it. I think it was something that was going to happen really eventually. I think the NCAA is smart to give itself a couple years to figure out the best way to address it. I don't think it needs to be, if you're asking my opinion, I don't think it needs to be isolated to one person. I think the beauty of college sports is like the broadcasting contracts. You know, every conference sees a pool of money from that. So I don't think you can say, hey, you're really only talking, in my opinion, about 10 players at all of college football that are worthy of doing that. I can remember Sam Darnold's jersey selling for $150 a pop. Well, there's not very many men out there that's going to happen. So in my opinion, there's about 10 of them. I think that should be all pulled together, and that should be broken up within conferences and those things so everybody sees that money. So maybe it increases the cost of living check or the scholarship check for your student athletes. I do think that's a good thing. I think if you get into a deal where you're talking about just one particular person receiving money, then all of a sudden you've opened Pandora's box, and you might as well be playing professional sports.